This video is sponsored by Squarespace. These two cameras are considered the world's smallest digital interchangeable lens cameras on the planet. We have the Lumix GM1, which is micro four thirds, and then we have the infamous Pentax Q S1, which is its own Pentax Q mount. I get tons of questions about both of these cameras as a tiny camera enthusiast, so I thought I would do a head-to-head GM1 versus Pentax Q to see which might be the best for you. The Pentax Q S1 is the most recent iteration of the Pentax Q cameras, and that came out in 2014. The Lumix GM1 came out in 2013, so they're both around the same age. The biggest difference comes in the sensors, of course. In the GM1, we have a comparatively huge micro four thirds sensor. In the Pentax Q, we have the tiny 1/1.7 inch CMOS sensor. So in sort of full frame terms, the micro four thirds sensor is 2 times crop, and this one is 4.5 times crop. Why is the dot so hard to find? Oh, there it is. The Lumix GM1 has a magnesium alloy body and then a mixture of metal and plastic for its dials, etc. The original Pentax Q had a full magnesium alloy body as well, but everything since then, so the Q10, the Q7, and the QS1 is more plastic, but it's really, really premium plastic. Like, you don't pick up these cameras and think, oh, it's flimsy, it's very, very well built. Both of them have the sweetest flash for the montage. And the GM1 is 16 megapixels versus 12 megapixels with the Pentax Q series. So as you imagine, I think the GM1 will be better in trickier lighting conditions, but I will test them both in the real world, side by side, in a number of conditions so that you can see for yourself. Now, a compact-sized camera system is only as small as its lenses. I think we've gone above and beyond in the Pentax Q with the lenses available. There are just 8 lenses available natively. It's its own mount, and they're all labelled 1 to 8. So this is the number 1. Very nice. It's a f1.7 prime lens. It's about a 40mm equivalent. And as you can see, they're all beyond tiny. They're absolutely minuscule. Even the zoom lens is minuscule. However, the micro four thirds system is super duper versatile. We have massive lenses. I mean, that's not even massive comparatively, but you wouldn't want to put that on the GM1. We have larger lenses, but we also have tiny lenses. We have like the body cap lenses. We still have tons of tiny lenses. There are 1,000,001 micro four thirds lenses. Which lenses would I like to put on the GM1? Probably about 12 of them. So you do have a plethora of options when it comes to lenses in both of these systems. Fun colours. The GM1 is available in 4 colours. We have the mighty blue, which I love. We have black, we have silver, and we also have brown. In the Pentax Q S1 series, there are a combination of 40, not 4, 40 different colours. I have the pink one, which is super sweet, and also this cream one, which is nice and classy in my opinion, but there are a lot of more mad colours available. And if you notice on this one, even the lenses come in different colours. I've got like this olive green lens, which is the 01, which is exactly the same lens as this one, but it's in olive green, which, as you'll also notice, matches neither of my Pentax cameras. I just bought it because I thought it was fun. Image quality, let's get to the nuts and bolts of it. Here are some of my favourite photographs that I've taken with both of these systems in the past. Particularly, I'm fond of the photographs I got in Valencia with the Pentax Q with the little pink boy. I just think I had great light, I had great subject, everything was in the camera's favour, to be honest, but it absolutely blew me away, the quality that gave me. The GM1, on the other hand, I've took to the Lake District, I've took on some city walks, blooming lovely. But let's take some fresh ones for this video. Let's have some side by side in good light first. So here are some daytime shots. The focal length wasn't a complete match, I'm afraid. The Pentax Q has some awkward focal lengths, but in good light, I think you can see that they are very similar. There's more of a pinkish hue in one of them versus the other, but in terms of quality, if you are in an everyday situation, I don't think the sensor in the little boy does too bad. So what about holding them and usability? Now, you're going to want a wrist strap or a neck strap with either of these cameras because they are small and quite flat profile. I've never dropped either of them yet, but I can see how it could easily happen. The Pentax Q series has like this black thing at the front. Someone tell me in the comments what that's for. Someone told me on my previous Pentax Q video and I forgot, but I don't believe it's just sort of a thumb grip. I think it actually has some other function. I don't know what it is, but it makes it really nice to hold. And then on the GM1, you have like this padded area at the back. While they are both small, they're not bad to hold, but I would still use a wrist strap. Some quick fire thoughts. I adore that the GM1 has a touch screen. I find if I'm using single point autofocus, that is the most efficient way for me to move my focus point quickly when I'm shooting street photography, for example. On the Pentax Q, I mean, you've got a much more forgiving depth of field anyway, so most things are in focus when you're shooting with the Pentax Q, but you don't have that touch screen. However, one thing I love about the Pentax Q series of cameras is you have a proper dial to change your aperture and shutter speed, for example, whereas on the GM1, you're stuck with the spinning wheel of doom, which is quite easy to knock when you're out and about, and it's not my favorite way of doing it. I forgive cameras that are smaller because, you know, small cameras, you're limited with your options, but I do much prefer having dedicated dials, personally. And in terms of the menu system, I give other cameras quite a bit of flack for this. There are some older cameras that have terrible, not intuitive menus, but the Pentax Q and the Lumix cameras both have very intuitive menus, dead easy to navigate, really, really well thought out. So let's check out some real-world examples in lower light situations. How does the tiny sensor in the Pentax Q hold up? When we head out into the evening, I think it becomes much more apparent which camera is which. One is significantly noisier than the other. I will say I don't necessarily find the noise displeasing on some of these images. I think it is almost a little bit filmic, but your mileage may vary. In terms of lenses, I was shooting with 1.7 primes on both. I know equivalency is a thing, but in a real world example, I thought it was just more important to have the fastest prime that I own on both systems so you can see a best case scenario. Let's talk about some bells and whistles, because one thing I thoroughly admire about Pentax is this was not a budget camera. There's built-in ND filters in the Pentax Q. It has IBIS in a camera so small. Even some of the lenses have leaf shutters built into them as well, so you have a mechanical leaf shutter depending on which lens that you choose. And one thing I love about the Pentax Q series of cameras, I think every iteration has it, is this little dial at the front here. So you can assign 4 custom presets for your JPEGs. The monochrome in this is very customizable and really blooming nice. So it was quite before its time in the sense that being able to quickly change filters, it's just an option on the Pentax Q. Amazing. There are some filters built into the GM1, but I just shoot natural. I don't think the filters in there are all that. I love both of these systems. As you can see, I'm a bit of a camera collector, and I've been making it my mission in life to collect every single Pentax Q lens for a while. I'm just missing one now, which is a body cap lens. 7 out of 8 ain't bad. I find both systems absolutely charming, and there's pros and cons to both. I think for bright holidays, like when I went to Valencia with the Pentax Q, it was like a match made in heaven. I had ample light, and I'm so happy that I had something small and fun and incognito. And using the longer lenses is so much fun on the Pentax Q because no one's going to look twice. I think this video has been a little bit biased towards the Pentax Q just because I find it such a fascinating tiny camera. But this is a versus video after all, so what about the Lumix GM1? I think the Pentax Q is a terrific tiny camera. I think the Lumix GM1 is a terrific camera that just happens to be tiny. Can you see the difference in that? With the Pentax Q, because the sensor is so small, you are a little bit hamstrung depending on your lighting conditions. With the Lumix GM1 and its Micro Four Thirds sensor, you can get great photos at night, you can get great photos regardless. That's not to say that you can't get amazing results from the Pentax Q series of cameras, because you blooming can, and I love them, but objectively, the Lumix GM1, it's more modern, the sensor is bigger, the lenses are more diverse, and it is absolutely a classic
camera.
I love Micro Four Thirds because if you invest in these smaller lenses, you can then buy like a G9 Mark II and use them professionally if you want to. I love Micro Four Thirds because you can make it as big or as small as you want. The Pentax Q is a little bit of an investment because you can only use these lenses with these specific bodies, whereas if you have other Micro Four Thirds lenses, you can always use them on different bodies. In terms of versatility, I think the GM1 is the better option. But I think if you are like a camera collector, I think both probably deserve a place on your shelf. But I think the Pentax Q is just like one of a kind. It was such an ambitious project from Pentax, and you know, the used market will dry up one day. These things don't seem to be in any camera manufacturer's priority. And I personally want to buy a piece of camera and photography history as a collector. So I have dedicated videos on both of these cameras. I'll leave those in the description if you'd like to watch those next. Which system do you like best and why? There are no wrong answers, only nerdy opinions, and I'd love to hear them. I've written blogs about both of these cameras on my Squarespace website, which is the sponsor of today's video. If you're looking for a new website to show your photography passion or anything else in life, you can't go wrong with Squarespace. It's really user-friendly and I've used them for many, many years now. You can customize everything to how you want it to be. It's super duper versatile, and you even have commerce options. It's how I sell my photo presets, for example, and it's also how I run my mailing list as well. Incidentally, I recently gave away a Pentax Q10 as part of my photo contest, so definitely subscribe to that. There's good stuff going on in my mailing list. I'll leave a link in the description. And check out my website while you're there. And if you like the look of it and think, you know what, I could do with a website like this, go to Squarespace/Micro Four Nerds and give it a go. See what you can create. And then if you want to have a discount on any of your websites or domains, your first purchase, you can use the code Micro4Nerds for some money off as well. Huge thanks to Squarespace for supporting this channel. It really does make a difference.